Thanks everyone for joining this afternoon. Welcome to the Catalyst DICES Fall 2024 webinar. My name is Leslie Nash. I'm a program director at the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center, and I'm joined here by two of our other colleagues who I'll let introduce themselves in just a moment. Basically, the Catalyst DICES program is a partnership between our organization, the Mass Clean Energy Center, and Mass Ventures. So why don't I let Priya introduce herself next?
Great. Thanks, Leslie. Hi, everyone. Priya Yadav. I am a Vice President for Investments at Mass Ventures, and I primarily focus on, of course, our venture investments and managing this program with Mass CEC. So very nice to meet all of you.
Thanks. And Mariana?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Mariana. I work on the tech to market team at Mass CEC, mostly working with early stage startups, such as the Catalyst DICES grantees, as well as with our business incubators and accelerators. So happy to be here.
Thank you. And with that, could you click the next slide?
Yes. I can attempt. Oh, here we go. Sorry. Okay, now
there we go. So we'll start by I'll give a quick overview of Mass CEC and our team, the Tech to Market team, and then I'll pass it to Priya to speak about Mass Ventures and her organization, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the Catalyst DICES program. And then Mariana will wrap up at the end by quickly highlighting some other funding opportunities that are at Mass CEC or otherwhere, just so that way you're aware of other things that might be relevant for you. So quickly, this is the Catalyst DICES team. So this is the team that will interact with you on a daily basis if you participate in this grant program. So as I said, I'm the director of the technology to market team. And then Mariana mentioned she's also on our team. And then Ria, who is one of our fellows from Northeastern, is also on our team. From Mass Ventures, you met Priya, and then also Vineet, who really helps with the finalist pitch coaching. So together, we are the faces that you'll interact with on a day-to-day basis. And we just wanted to flash those faces up there so you get familiar with who we are. Next slide, please. Oh, right, I already went over this. So next slide, please. Great. So Mass CEC is a state economic development agency dedicated to accelerating the growth of the clean energy and climate tech sector in the Commonwealth. So we're really the state's economic development agency, but focused in a particular sector. We are training tomorrow's clean energy workforce. We're funding climate tech innovation, which is Catalyst and DICES. And all of these things really help meet the state's emission reduction goals while growing the state's clean energy economy. So there's a couple of stats up here just kind of showing where we've been and some of our proudest accomplishments that we hope will help the state meet these emission reduction targets that we have here, which are very aggressive. So we fund innovators like many of you who are on the call today, but we also do a lot of other things. So we help support internships at companies, which Mariana will speak to a little bit more later. We also built the first U.S. offshore wind port in New Bedford. We've also supported many employers. We've supported electric school bus transitions. So we do a lot of different things, and it's important to recognize that even if you don't get funding from us through this program or otherwise, consider us a resource for anything to do with the climate tech sector in Massachusetts. And we might be able to connect you or bring together in a convening fashion stakeholders that might be relevant for you. So keep your eye on our social media, reach out to us whether or not you participate in this program. Thanks. Next slide. So Mass CEC, like I said, we do a lot of things, but we're broken down into kind of 4 general areas of work. First, which is where our innovation grant programming sits, is under the emerging climate tech vertical. So this is where we help climate tech focused businesses grow faster by backing a vibrant community of researchers, startups, established industry players, creating an ecosystem where they connect and thrive. 3 other areas of work under Mass CEC is the Accelerating Decarbonization team, That is a team where we contribute to meeting our state's ambitious climate goals by tackling barriers to widespread use of clean energy and climate technology in three main areas: buildings, transportation, and the grid. So these teams focus on de-risking markets and making customers and markets more friendly to adopting emerging climate techs. Then there's the large-scale deployment or offshore wind team, and then also the clean energy and climate workforce development team, which really focuses on building that workforce that is needed to make this economy transition to a clean energy one. So together we are Mass CEC, and we're really going to focus on this first one, the emerging climate tech, which is our team where the technology to market team sits. Next slide, please. And here's the zoom in into the technology to market team. So we are going to focus very heavily on the Catalyst and DICES program today, which you can see as the second green bar from the bottom. That slide that you're looking at is basically a visual depiction of all of our programs for startups. So the green bars are grants. The peach tan bar at the top is our investments. The gray bar is programs that don't yet exist, but are currently under development, so keep your eye out. And then the yellow bar is our internship program. Across the x-axis on the bottom, we have the maturity of the technology or the technology readiness level from 1 to 10, 1 being primarily early stage research, 9 and 10 being deployment. And then up the y-axis, we have the dollar amount per award. So for the internship program, for example, technology readiness level is not applicable. It's really for any company that is considered a clean energy company in Massachusetts. And the dollar amounts are pretty small since we're just funding internship stipends. And then if you work your way up, you can see the 2030 investment fund has larger dollar amounts and tends to focus on TRLs 3 to 9. Catalyst, which we'll zoom in on in just a moment, you can see is TRL 2 to 4 up to $75,000. We like to show this slide so that way, even if you're at the Catalyst or DICES stage today, you might be at one of these other points in your future. Or maybe you come to this webinar today and realize you're not really at the Catalyst DICES stage, and you can therefore look at this slide and think, where else might I be able to fit into the Mass CEC programming and resources? So we'll talk about all these programs at a high level at minimum during this webinar. And then next slide, please, where I think I'm turning it over to Priya to talk about Mass Ventures.
Great. Thanks, Leslie. So just similar to Mass CEC, Mass Ventures is the Commonwealth's strategic venture capital team. And we've been very successful in fueling innovation in Massachusetts for 46 years now. We fund, and we foster early stage deep tech startups that fuel economic growth across the Commonwealth. We are also very intentional about supporting diverse founders and diverse geographies across Massachusetts. So essentially, we offer venture investment, business guidance, grants, and an extensive network of partners who can help you grow your business. We have a three-pronged focus between academic spin-outs, our Accelerate, and our capital programs. I'll just touch on a few of these, but you're welcome to go to our website. There's tons of information about all of these, and then reach out to me as well. So from a capital standpoint, we provide investment and support for mass-based deep tech startups, including clean tech startups at the seed stage. We also have revenue-based loan financing program for early stage companies. On the grant side, besides supporting Catalyst and DICES with Mass CEC, we offer a program called SHART, which if you have an SBIR phase 2 or an equivalent level of funding, then you can apply for this and over 3 stages get up to $800,000 in non-dilutive funding. And ACORN is targeted for academic spin-outs primarily, $32,500 grants. From a technology acceleration standpoint, we offer a commercialization accelerator for first-time founders, where there's lots of great content developed with experts on everything you need to know as a founder. And we also offer a podcast for the same. We offer free SBIR support, and I'm going to finally make a plug for the Founder School, which we just launched. It's actually, the applications are open until September 10th. It's a pre-accelerator program for traditionally underfunded founders in the deep tech space. And it's a 3-month hybrid program. It'll kick off October 7th. So I would encourage you to look more into it if you feel this might apply to you, and take advantage of this program among others. So just in closing, I will just say that our platform is an end-to-end support to you. And Mariana, if you go to the next slide, it kind of shows all our programs similar to Mass CEC in terms of stage and funding associated with it. So our platform is an end-to-end support for all of you, from pre-investment to exit. And we do that in the form of mentoring, business guidance, grants, investments, and follow-on funding. So happy to answer any questions if you reach out to me later. But I think at this point, we are ready to jump into Catalyst and DICES. Great. So next slide, please. All right. So what are the Catalyst and DICES programs? Under the Catalyst program, we offer up to 10 climate tech technology grants of up to 75,000 per grantee. So for the 10, the split is up to 7 would be awarded through the Catalyst program, and at least 3 would be awarded for DICES. And I'll cover some details on what that program means further down the slides. But what we would provide besides the funding is technical and business support from both Mass CEC and Mass Ventures to Massachusetts-based early stage companies and researchers who are at the TRL 2 to 4 stage, as Leslie had mentioned, and who are looking to develop climate tech prototypes. Students can apply, but they would need to do so with a PI if they are working on climate tech innovation projects. We run this program twice a year, spring and fall. So if the timing is not good for you right now, then consider waiting until spring to apply. Our current round for fall 2024 is open, and we will be accepting proposals through midnight of September 30th. We have a 2-step application and review process. Written reviews come first. So once you apply, you go through the written review stage with our external reviewers. And if you are selected as a finalist through that process, you will then be invited to pitch to our panel of external reviewers and the Mass CEC Mass Ventures teams. Next slide, please. So what are the program benefits? If you are selected to pitch as a finalist after the written review portion of the programs, you will get complimentary pitch coaching. As Leslie mentioned, Vineet from Mass Ventures will provide this. We'll also provide you business mentoring, both through Mass CEC and Mass Ventures. If you're awarded the grant, you will gain access to a vast network of partners. You will get expert insights into the local climate tech policy and markets, and also mentoring from both Mass CEC and Mass Ventures. We also offer optional check-ins with grantees throughout the duration of the program, so you can stay connected with us if you wish to, outside of just submitting the required reporting that we expect of all our grantees. And if you are at the point where you are raising funds, both the Mass CEC and Mass Ventures investment teams would love to chat with you to see if we could be potential partners in your raise. So a lot of great benefits from both of these programs. Now, application requirements. For the application, we ask you to provide the following information. Provide us an overview of your technology and be clear on why is this important. We will need insight on the commercialization potential of your technology, your market research, anything that you've done there, including any customer discovery. Clearly explain to us what your proposed business model is. We definitely need to see a climate tech benefit. This is a very important criteria, and we need to see a solid case made for the same in your application. By climate tech benefits, we need to have detail and clarity demonstrated in your proposal on the potential reduction in greenhouse gas emissions or the avoidance of future greenhouse gas emissions achievable, including any efficiency improvements that you're able to demonstrate with your technology, for example. We need you to provide details about what you plan to do with the grant funding, what your milestones are, what you are trying to do and when and how. Select your project very carefully, and we will talk about that more in a little bit. And we also expect to see a project budget summary showing how do you plan to allocate your $75,000 budget. And finally, provide us information on your team members so we understand not just the technical side of the house, but also the business composition of your team. Do you have people who span both skill sets? And who are your advisors, if any? All of these items are included in the template that we have provided for the online application. So please follow it very carefully. What do we mean by prototype? Going by the literal definition, it's a first, typical, or preliminary model of something, especially a machine from which other forms are developed or copied. Note that it is not basic research. We are looking for an early stage technology design, development, and validation of your innovation. You can test your concept, or you can use it to evaluate your design. But we need to see that you are creating something beyond just ideation. Show us a real working system or product. You could also be generating data to validate your invention. So what are we looking for? We want you to tell us a good, clear story. A proposal which has a high likelihood of success would have the following attributes. For technical merit, the technology should be promising, it should be new, and it should be disruptive. We're not necessarily looking for new ways to repurpose existing technologies. Rather, we're looking for novel, disruptive technologies or solutions that you have developed. From a commercialization perspective, show us that you have a good value proposition and your target market is large and or growing. You have done your customer discovery, so you know who your customer is. You know what they want, and you can deliver it. For those with a smaller market, we encourage applicants who are confident that they can address the needs of that target market. For the project plan, the project selected should be achievable within the timeline of 1 year and the budget constraints provided, and the results should be meaningful towards the next step of your commercialization plan. You should have a knowledgeable team who knows how to commercialize your technology. The technology also needs to fit our program. What we are looking for there is technologies with climate and clean energy impacts that can demonstrate measurable climate impacts through the reduction of fossil fuel usage. The proposal you submit should also demonstrate a high likelihood to attract follow-on funding, which is a good qualifier for market entry. By this, we mean university projects should be able to demonstrate that they have a pathway to industrial relevance. And for early stage companies, show us that you have a compelling and competitive product in your target market that will attract private investment. As mentioned in the RFP for this grant cycle, while Catalyst or DICES funding may be used to support prototype development of any technology or proposed business model that meets MassCEC's definition of climate tech, which you can see in the RFP, particular emphasis will be placed on identifying projects in one or more of the following areas, as long as the proposed invention relates to advanced and applied technologies that significantly reduce or eliminate the use of energy from non-renewable sources. And these areas, you can look for details on all of these in the RFP, are energy and electricity, transportation, manufacturing and industry, agriculture and water, buildings, and resilience and adaptation. So about DICES, MassCEC is committed to providing funding opportunities to applicants who are underrepresented in the climate tech industry or who may have faced economic barriers entering the environmental or entrepreneurial landscape. And this DICES program specifically seeks to provide access to funding and opportunities for those of you who can speak about how your lived experiences or economic context has caused barriers when entering the climate tech industry. So some of the eligibility criteria, so examples of such barriers or experiences may include, but are not limited to, the applicant has experienced direct underrepresentation in the climate tech ecosystem in Massachusetts, or the applicant has not received substantial support, especially compared to other applicants towards commercialization of their climate tech project or research. And finally, the applicant has experienced economic barriers to accessing or receiving capital for seed funding. So these are the three primary eligibility criteria or examples that we can share with you for determining if you're eligible for DICES. Now, how do you apply for DICES? I just want to be clear that all applicants to the DICES program are subject to the same eligibility requirements for the Catalyst program. So fill out all the questions for the Catalyst application. The only thing that you have to do in addition for DICES is fill out section 2 in the application form, which is the DICES statement, and meet the intent of DICES program guidelines as described in the RFP. Finally, timeline and logistics. Go to the Mass CEC or the Mass Ventures websites for the RFP and link to the online application portal. The due date for applications is September 30th by midnight. Please do not wait until 11:30 or 11:59 to submit your application. I've always had applications come in the last 5 minutes saying the tool has logged down. You don't want to be one of those. Try and submit it. You have plenty of time to do so. Submit it earlier in the day, that day as well. But once you submit the application, they will be reviewed by our committee, the Mass CEC and Mass Ventures team, and then we will send them out to external reviewers. Finalists who will be invited to pitch will be notified in early November. We will then begin providing pitch coaching sessions from then on, leading up to a few days before pitch days, which will be scheduled in early December. The finalists will do their pitch presentations to a panel of judges, and the winners will be notified of their award status in late January. If you are not selected, we will provide you with exhaustive written feedback, which can hopefully help you in submitting a stronger application the next time around. If you have any questions, please reach out. We are happy to clarify any part of the program. The clearer you are with what we want, the stronger your proposal will be. And if we go to the next slide, here are some of our most recent grantees. You can just stare at it for a little bit to see the kinds of programs or companies that we have funded through this program most recently.
All right. Thank you,
And
Priya.
yeah,
I'm
just
sorry.
one thing I will just say, sorry, Mariana,
Sorry.
these programs are great programs. A lot of our grantees have done incredibly well in terms of raising follow-on funding and commercializing their technology. So we really look forward to your applications and thank you.
All right. So now, like Leslie mentioned earlier, we'll touch on some of the other programs that Mass CEC offers. We will start with Innovate Mass. So Innovate Mass is oh my God, the chat opened, sorry. Innovate Mass is a program designed to provide support to startup companies to deploy their early demonstration projects. So as you can see on the screen, these grants go up to $350,000, and the company must provide between a 25 and 50% cost share of the award amount. And the same with Catalyst and DICES, you get technical and business support from Mass CEC and Mass Ventures. Applications for Innovate Mass are accepted on a rolling basis. So there's 3 cohort deadlines throughout the fiscal year. The next one is October 7th. So if you are watching this and you realize you may be closer to Innovate Mass company status, then just know you have until October 7th to find a demonstration partner and submit an application. To be eligible for Innovate Mass, you have to be either a Massachusetts-based startup whose demo site is anywhere, or if you're a non-Mass-based startup, you have to have a demo site in Massachusetts. And this, as we stated earlier, is for technology readiness levels 5 to 8. This application process is similar to Catalyst DICES, where every written application gets reviewed by Mass CEC, Mass Ventures, and then we send them out to our external reviewers. And then people who are, or companies who are chosen to be finalists get a pitch round. And then similar to Catalyst DICES, we have some recently awarded projects here. Some examples are CDeep, which will be demonstrating its AI-powered subsea vision technology for the monitoring of offshore assets and ecosystems. I'll leave this up for a couple seconds and let everyone look at it, and then I'll move on to the next program. Okay, and the next program is Amplify Mass, which is a program designed to support Massachusetts companies and researchers on their federal and non-federal awards via cost share. So, you know, Department of Energy, Department of Defense, many federal and non-federal grants are announced every week, and Amplify Mass was basically designed to lift the cost share or adder burden from the company. So the grants are up to $300,000 and they are accepted on a rolling basis. Applications must be submitted to Mass CEC before the primary funding is contracted. And for eligibility, the companies must be a small business based in Massachusetts or a Massachusetts-based university or nonprofit. And we accept technology readiness levels 2 to 8 for this program. The application process for Amplify Mass is also similar to the other two, where you submit a written application and then there are a finalist round as well. Here are some recently awarded projects. For example, Electrified Thermal Solutions is developing a Joule Hive thermal battery to provide high temperature heating to several hard to abate sectors such as cement and steel industries. And I'll leave this up for a few seconds as well, just so everyone can read before I move on to the next slide. Okay, and the next slide we'll be talking about is, or the next opportunity, I should say, is workforce funding opportunities. So the Mass CEC Clean Energy Internship Program is the internship program that you saw in our earlier slide where we showed all of the opportunities we offer to companies. The next enrollment starts in mid-October, and I'll show you a little bit more on the next slide, but the kind of core focus of this program is to employ student workers. We basically fund these student workers to work at clean tech or climate tech companies, and we reimburse the companies for those students' time. We want to mentor a new generation of clean energy professionals, and there are many students who have gone on to be hired full-time at their internship site. So it's also a great pipeline to find and hire your next employee. Here's some more information. So there are 3 sessions per year. And as I said in the last slide, the spring 2025 session opens in mid-October. You can host up to 3 interns per session. However, if you do host 3 interns per session, one of the interns must be from a Massachusetts-based community college. We reimburse the employers for 12 weeks of an intern's work. So in the spring and fall sessions, that work is considered part-time. And in the summer, of course, because most students are not in classes at that point, the work is considered full-time. As you can see on the bottom left, the cap is $4,320 for the part-time spring and fall interns, and the cap is 8,640 for the full-time summer interns. Some of our successes to date are that we have placed over 5,000 interns at over 600 companies. And in the top right, you can see the map of where those companies are located in Massachusetts. And over 1,000 of those students have gained full or part-time employment at their host companies after their internship. So this has been, if not our most popular Mass CEC program, one of our most popular programs, and international students are eligible to participate. So we'll be able to ask some questions about that at the end, but I'll just move on for now to investment opportunities and just quickly go over at a high level the Mass CEC investment fund, which is called the 2030 Fund. And it is a high risk tolerance early investor. We like to kind of not compare, but we like to add our grants and our other workforce development and internship funding along with investments for companies who are eligible to make the most impact that we can. And the total 2030 fund size is 50 million. And the typical first check size is between 250 and 500,000. We do both pre-seed and seed investing. And we normally don't lead an investment round, but we will be a member, and we are also a great connector to our extensive co-investor network. So we also take meetings with startups occasionally to kind of connect them to other investors if they're looking for an investment above what we normally give. So I will end it here. I'll stop the recording, and then I'll let everyone come on for questions. Just one moment.
And if you can't verbalize your question, feel free to type it in the chat or the Q&A box.